Joe, first of all, thank you for talking to me again. It's always a pleasure to have you in our events.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to chat with you, Cassio. If I can be of help with you in any way, I'm always here for you.
Thank you for that. And Joe, I came to my office with a bike today, and I brought these books with me. All of them in my bag, and they are too heavy, man.
Oh, jeez. You have to get some better books, my friend. I'll send you some good book choices, except for those four. No, thank you. Those are the last four, right? Yeah. That's the last four books.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Those are. I looked for better books, but I couldn't find.
Yeah, right. That's good.
Okay, so Joe, you are following and you are educating the market about content marketing for the past maybe 10 years. And for the first time we recorded a conversation like this, I think it was 4 years ago or 5 years ago. It was back in 2015. You said that content marketing was maybe going down. If you think of the Gartner hype cycle, content marketing was in the descendant stage. That's a cycle like this, and so it was starting to lose relevance because many companies were doing it wrong.
Yep.
It was 4 or 5 years ago. So how do you see it today?
Well, the first thing, if you look at what was happening back then, right before that period, you had everybody getting into it. It's like, oh my gosh, we can all create content. This is fantastic. So everybody started to create content because they could, and they could publish it on social media, and it didn't cost a lot of money. Theoretically, it didn't cost a lot of money. And everyone was excited about it. And then, a year later or two years later, they were like, oh, this is very difficult to build an audience. This is very difficult, challenging to create content that engages people, that people actually care about, that people actually want to subscribe to. So that at that point, probably right, 2014, 2015, that's what you saw. A lot of people were like, oh, this is too hard. We're just going to go back to traditional media. We're going to try to, go back to our corners and figure out what's going wrong. So now let's fast forward to today. I do still believe that most companies aren't doing it correctly. That's okay. It's an art and a science. It takes time to do this. I think if you look at the Gartner hype cycle, I think we've come out of the trough of disillusionment, if you will, and I think we're on our way up. What's the next one? The path of enlightenment, something like that. I think we're steadily going back up, and I think that's what happens in a bubble. We were in a bubble. Everybody wanted to try it, just like if you think about the stock market that goes way up high. And then everybody buys, and then all of a sudden, something happens. There's a recession, whatever's going on, and then everybody just sells. We had everybody just selling for about a 12 to 18-month period, and you clear all that out, and it takes a while for those people to get some people to get confidence to go back in. So I do actually like where we're at, because I think that the businesses, small businesses and large businesses that are getting back into it, they believe in it, they're committing to it. I think those are your innovative companies. They're doing it the right way. They have a clear strategy behind it. And you're always going to have people that are experimenting, sort of dipping their toe in the water, still haven't figured it out, still for some reason believe that content everywhere is something that we should do. Let's put content on every site we possibly can, which is the worst thing you can do. Still a lot of companies that believe that. But I think we're coming to a more rational era, especially since people are realizing that social media is not their savior, and we've got to tread lightly in that area.
Yeah, that's how you see probably the U.S. marketplace. But in Brazil and probably in Europe, we are a few years behind the U.S. marketplace. I think it's a natural evolution of the worldwide marketplace when it comes to market in general. And of course, many companies did a great job in the U.S. You can mention Red Bull. You can mention
Sure.
Lego. In Brazil, you can mention some of them. There's a great bank here, the biggest bank, Itaú, does a great job. We had an awarded company, an agency, New Content, that won the CMI's award of Agency of the Year, Brazilian agency. So we have some great examples here. But many companies here, instead of building a loyal audience, they still focus on lead generation and SEO. I mean, they still focus on those short-term benefits. You know, that happens a lot here. I would say that the majority is still focused on that, you know. So what do you think? Are marketers more mature about that in the US, or do you feel that many companies are still suffering of the same problem in the US?
I'll give you a really good example because you bring up the CMI, the Content Marketing Awards. I had the privilege of judging the Project of the Year category, and I believe there were 14 submissions. And of those 14 submissions, 10 were campaigns. 10 were content campaigns, which were, let's say, went for 9-month, 10-month period and then stopped. By the way, that's fine, but I don't really consider that content marketing. A lot of people would say, oh, that's a content marketing program. If you're going to stop something in marketing, it's probably not a content marketing program. I don't consider campaigns part of a content marketing mentality because they go out for a very long period of time. They evolve over time. It's more like publishing, if you will. So I don't want to say that those 10 companies were doing it wrong, but I think they're missing out on opportunities because it's very short term. It's very lead gen focused. It's very, let me put out the content right now. What can I get from that audience now? So the majority of companies, by the way, that's since forever, since I've been in marketing. And if you go back before then, just go back 40, 50 years, everyone in marketing always wants what can we get right now? And it makes perfect sense because if you're going to do an advertising program, you want results right now. I think if you espouse to a true content marketing philosophy, you think that the payoff is better if you wait. Not that you can't get immediate payoff, not that you can't see results in 9 to 12 months, but if you build an audience first, audience that knows, likes, and trusts you, I believe that over time, they'll not only buy once from you, they'll buy over time, and they'll buy many, many things you offer. So I'm looking for more of the lifetime value of a customer over how did we do in sales from this content campaign. I don't know, Cassio, if that's going to change. I think that most marketers are short-term focused. I think it's always been that way. I think that if you're going to see innovation in marketing, you're going to see some people that they don't have a plan B. They're focusing on plan A, which is to build a relationship with a group of customers over time, to build out diversified content programs over a long period of time, become the leading expert in that area, and then dominate the market. So I think that's when you're thinking about, oh, should I do content marketing or not? You really need to think about what your goals are. If your goals really are short term and you need something to happen very quickly, fine. Just do your lead generation program. Do your top of the funnel stuff. Do some bottom of the funnel stuff. Do the things that you feel you need to do short term. But hopefully your company has a longer term approach with some of the things you're working on, and you could say, wow, I see where we're headed 3 to 5 years down the road. And that's where I think content marketing pays off.
You know, it's good to hear that you judge this way on content marketing awards, because that's my criteria too. You know, I'm a judge as well. And the first thing, whenever I see subscription is this a campaign? If so, okay, it's out of the game.
That's right. I totally agree with that. And that's why I said those 10 programs, they were wonderful, but they could have been so much better. You spent so much time and energy on this project. You had agencies involved. You had so many people involved. You delivered amazing information to customers that actually wanted to get it. And then what do? You stopped. You said, okay, we're going to go another direction now. We've got another campaign coming out. I think it's the most idiotic thing that you could do as a marketer, to lift your customers up, to get them to actually want your information. And then to say, oh, stop, that campaign's done. We're going to do something else. I don't know why you would do that. It's probably because we've been doing marketing like that forever. And I think that's where the madness needs to stop. So I'm completely on the same page with you about that.
And Joe, they will never achieve this point, this level, which for those who are watching us, Killing Marketing is the last book, the most recent book that Joe and Robert Rose wrote in 2017, right?
That's right.
Yep. And this book talks about those companies that achieved a certain level that is a superior level, that they were really successful in creating a loyal audience, that they were even able to make money, an extra money from that loyal audience. So, for example, Lego was able to make a successful movie. Actually, now a
couple of them, yes,
because they just created a loyal audience. So the thing is, if you wanted to make a new edition of the book, would you find in the past 2 years more examples? I mean, is that a trend that is still alive, or are those examples really rare? Are companies still building that slowly, that new concept of killing marketing? Are they rare, or are they doing that all the time?
I believe on the marketing side, they're still rare. I mean, of course, you have the Disneys of the world, which has always been a media company and a product company. And everyone's talking about Amazon and what they're able to do. Amazon monetizes everything now. And they built a really loyal subscription program in Prime that they, through video content, by the way, that they've been able to do that. Where I'm seeing the innovation is actually on the publishing side. So if you look at a publisher out of the UK, like a Dennis Publishing, that published basically automotive content in print form and online form, well, now they're selling automobiles. They sell a ton of cars. That's been happening over the last 4 or 5 years. BuzzFeed, the media company that everyone loves to hate, I just saw their results. They generated $130 million in selling household appliances. Think about that. They're selling pans, interactive pans, and all kinds of stuff that you could buy in grocery stores and online, and which just amazes me. 130 million is a big, big number. So I think what you're seeing publishing and media companies go to that model first, where you're saying, okay, build a loyal audience, and then how do I monetize? They're monetizing that from the product side, really out of desperation, because advertising is such a horrible business. It's not a great business model like it used to be. So they're saying, how do we survive? They're forced to go that direction. There is no plan B for them. If you have brand marketers, I still see so many large brand companies that are spending so much money on social media advertising, right? Advertising of all kinds, but really social media, because you can target so effectively right now. I don't think that's always going to be the case, but right now they're able to do that. So when you have other options, you don't say, oh, well, maybe should deliver this amazing thing to this group of people for a long period of time, and 12 to 18 months down the road, there'll be a payoff. No, what they'd like to do is create some fancy videos, create some cool video, audio, whatever, blast it out on social media channels, on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and then watch the results come in. They can absolutely do that. So I wish I was seeing more. If they're happening, I'm not seeing them right now, Cassio. I just think that the desperation is not there yet. It'll probably take another global recession for us to get to that point. And that's where, by the way, that's how content marketing sort of rose to the next level, was the 2008, 2009 recession, when we really saw this, oh, I can't spend all this money. I really have to focus on my dollars and where I'm spending it at. And I need to think a little bit better about an overall strategy. 2010 was beautiful for that happening. That's where we get most of our content marketing case studies. We're going to have to see, I don't want that to happen, but I think we're going to have to see another one of those to happen, because most corporations are in pretty good financial health right now globally, and they're spending advertising money, and they're not thinking about any waste. They're not thinking about the kind of waste that would get them to motivate them to do a real content marketing strategy, in my opinion.
You know, Joe, there are two types of content marketers, or even content producers or marketers. I don't know. Whenever I start to deal with marketing teams, you know, I can see those journalists or people with a background of journalists. They are, at least in Brazil, they kind of hate the commercial side of the things, you know. Mm-hmm. They are they have that mindset of, okay, I just write, and I have nothing to do with the commercial side of the company.
Sure.
On the other hand, we have those guys who are who want to sell and sell and sell from the very first paragraph of each text. So how should companies deal with that? There's probably a compromise, you know. There is probably a sweet spot where where my content could be, you know, at the same time more, you know, it could convert into sales at the same time, and it could be an educational content, you know. So what is the sweet spot when it comes to content marketing?
Well, the first thing is to take your commercial content where you have companies that are inserting product mentions right from the start. I don't see that doing well at all. Like, why would anybody pay attention to that? Oh, hey, look, we're great. We're awesome. Share this and spread this around. Is that content that people want to share and that people want to engage in? Probably not. So that one is challenging. On the other side, if you even think about it from a traditional media standpoint, all content is commercial, in my opinion. You're always selling something. If you are an editor for the Wall Street Journal, you already, even though you're trying to write a story and you want to write truthfully and you want it to be engaging, it's commercial, because the only way that piece of content is going to continue on your site is if they can sell advertising against it or subscriptions. So everything's commercial. So I would say, yes, do I like the pure form? I think I'm in your camp, where I love pure educational content, informative content, entertaining content. I don't want to see any type of product mentions in the content at all. It's not to say that there isn't time for that at certain levels of the funnel. But if you're talking about, let's say, top of the funnel content, or you're talking about trying to get a subscriber, you want that content to be truly informative, truly focused on the pain points of the customer. So your commercial messages need to be on the outside around it. I always tell people that are getting started, if you want to, let's say you are creating a blog and you don't know how to monetize that blog. Well, you shouldn't have any promotions in the content itself. But if you get somebody to subscribe and you send them amazing content over 6 months, I think it's okay that you start opening up and send them an email and say, hey, you love our content so much, maybe you'll like this product that will solve your problems in a little bit of a different way. That's completely fine. If you think about how we sold for content marketing world at the start, we just wanted people to subscribe to this daily content that we thought was really valuable. And then we said, oh, by the way, there's an event coming up. Maybe you'd like to sign up for that. We didn't want to hit them over the head with it, but I think that's the best type of sales effort, excuse me, where you're always focused on the needs of the customer, even with the products you sell. So if you are selling a relevant, hopefully you are, if you did your content marketing strategy right, you're selling some kind of a relevant product or service with the content. Once you get them to a certain level and build that audience, you can go ahead and around that content, to the side of the content, to the bottom of the content, in an email newsletter, in a direct email, you can start to tell people, hey, we've got other things to offer. And because you built this loyal relationship, I think they'd be more open to that.
Do you believe it happens in a blog post? For example, people are searching for a product or service and they find you on Google and, okay, I'm searching for marketing events, which is the CMI case, or a product. Okay, and while you're searching on Google, I find that and then, the blog post introduces the company to me at that point, and then they convert me into sales directly. Yep. Is that possible to happen?
Sure, it's possible to happen, but it doesn't happen very often. I mean, that if you look at all the people that would ever come to content marketing world, we rarely get somebody that says, oh, hey, I want to go to a marketing event. Maybe I should go to a content marketing event. They type it in and then they go to contentmarketingworld.com and subscribe and then sign up. If that's 1% of the people that come to the event, then I would be surprised. That's probably a high number. The way that it works is generally this, go back years ago, they'll type in, what is content marketing? Or they'll type in a specific content marketing question. And then they go to our what is content marketing page. And you know what our goal is on the what is content marketing page? Not only is this to educate them and get them to the right resources, but we want them to subscribe. We want them to sign up to get regular updates of the blog, to sign up for ongoing training, maybe the free portion of the training that we have, or sign up for the e-newsletter. And then we go to work on them. And then we keep delivering amazing information over and over and over again. And then once they're paying attention for 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 18 months, then they go to Content Marketing World. That's how generally it happens. That's a general, that's a B2B content marketing cycle, if you will. Could it happen more quickly on the B2C side? Sure. But this is a different kind of sale. Like if you're looking for sales right away, you say, I need sales in the next 3 months. Don't do content marketing. Go do advertising. Go interrupt people. Go do something else. If you're going to do content marketing when you really want a long, fruitful relationship with a group of people, that's where content marketing comes in handy. That's where it takes some time. That's where you have to think differently about the life cycle of your customer.
It makes me think of inbound marketing a lot, because in my opinion, inbound marketing works when if well done.
Yeah.
But the problem is, I have a case. It's a shame it's in Portuguese. You'd love to hear that.
Okay.
In English, because I recorded a phone call of a company which is a brilliant case of a marketing automation tool, a very popular one in Brazil. And I downloaded an ebook about financial education. Mm-hmm. And before the PDF came into my email, the vendor called me, even before the email. And I recorded all that. And I showed my students whenever I teach in MBAs and things like that. And they just can't believe it, Yeah. So you wrote a few years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, an article with this title: Why Inbound Marketing Should Take a Backseat to Current Customers. When you just said that, content marketing is a more long-term and more broader approach of marketing. And inbound marketing, as far as I can remember, is a tool, more focused on B2B and more focused on sales conversion. And so my question is, how do you see that relation of content and inbound marketing today? In the US, I know that content marketing is stronger than inbound marketing. You can see the search on Google. People search for content marketing more than inbound in the US. But in Brazil, it's the opposite. They look for inbound more than content. So how do you compare today content to inbound marketing?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to say that it's not one or the other. We're not, inbound marketing and content marketing shouldn't be bashing heads. You probably have elements of both. I mean, if you're doing a pure content marketing strategy, you should get inbound subscribers and inbound leads depending on how you do it. Let's say you do a blog. I mean, the Content Marketing Institute blog because it's so does so well in the search engines. You get a lot of inbound leads that way but to content, then where they subscribe and then they become a customer. I think it's the timing of how much patience do you have? Like, what kind of company do you have that you just have to say, okay, I have this inbound approach where you're right. A lot of B2B, we have to get as much in as quickly as possible versus long-term, some things that you can wait for. I think the most important thing when you think about inbound versus content, though, is you have a marketing goal, right? I'm sure you have goals that you have to hit. But once you get to level 2 of that, content marketing moves to the needs of swings way far into what the pain points and the needs are of the audience versus inbound, which is in most cases, in my opinion, still focused on the needs of the company. That's where we've talked about this. You create something like an editorial mission statement or a content marketing mission statement. If you're on the inbound side, most times that content marketing or that content mission statement is very skewed to the needs of the company. I need to sell X widgets. I'm going to send this audience this kind of information because the company needs to sell this. It's a very inboundish approach. Maybe I would say has more of a selfish approach, if you will, from a company standpoint. Content marketing, the outcome or I'm going to send to this audience this type of content to help the audience do this. The outcome is always focused on the audience. If the outcome is not focused on the audience, you're probably not going to be successful. Because why would the audience care then? You're trying to help the audience. And then secondarily, you attach that business goal. So basically in inbound, I think you push up the business goal, which oftentimes doesn't work. And with content marketing, that business goal is secondary. Very hard for marketers to do this because you're thinking, oh, I need to save my job. I would like to get a promotion. The payoff is so much longer. That's why it takes it's more difficult. So I would say inbound content, I'm not fighting about it, but I'm saying there's a different mentality that goes into it. I can already tell if somebody comes up to me and say, I'm an inbound marketing specialist, they're already in sales mode. Sell, 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 sell. If they say I'm a content marketing strategist, they're thinking about the needs of the audience more than they are of the companies, which of course I aspire to more because I think the payoff down the road is better.
And in both cases, I guess, marketing automation too is a great tool to be used, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's nothing. You can use marketing automation tools in either one of those processes. The problem that I have, not just with marketing automation, with any technology, is most times companies don't need it. I don't know what it's like in your country, but in the United States, as soon as there's a new technology that comes out, a marketer wants to buy it. Oh, we've got to have it. Got to have marketing automation. Well, look at the marketing automation stats. Most companies don't even use 5% of the features in any marketing automation suite. You know what they use? Email. It's a glorified email service. So okay, we can track it here, and then we can link it up into Salesforce, and everything will be great. That's fine, but is it always needed? No. So my recommendation for marketing automation, if you have it, is to really focus on how you can integrate it well with what you're trying to do from a content standpoint. If you don't have it, I would wait until it hurts so bad that you cannot take it anymore and then go buy it. Just wait, just put it off, because what we found out is a lot of companies, especially small and medium-sized companies, they probably don't need a marketing automation suite. They probably need just a simple email package that they can link up with their sales processing. That's really all they need to do. Does marketing automation make it easier and better? Sure, but implementing it is always very challenging in any size organization. So I would just wait until you know for sure you desperately need it. I know some companies that are still in year 3 and still haven't integrated their marketing automation process into their company. That's how bad it gets. This is a big undertaking. So just make sure you know what you're doing before you do it.
And when it comes to small and medium, big companies, there is another issue, Joe, which is choosing the right content channels,
Sure.
So I currently work with small and big companies. So whenever I create the content marketing strategy or content marketing plan for them, it's quite easy to talk to small companies. I say, okay, let's just choose one core channel or main channel, and let's focus on them. And the owner of the company or the marketing manager said, okay, that's great. I will save money. I have a small team, so that's fantastic. So let's focus on that main channel. I like it. But when we go to the large companies, and I work a lot with banks, with enterprises, they want to focus on several channels.
Every channel.
They have many times the multi-channel plan, So, and what makes me, what drives me crazy sometimes is that we know that we have to focus on one channel. And this book, which is very popular in Brazil, we have the translated version of that. On this book, you say that, okay, let's focus on one channel, it's better. But the thing is, big companies, they sometimes are able to focus on several channels. They have budget for that. They have several agencies. They have a big team. So my question is that okay? Is this okay if big companies are able to focus on several channels, and are they able to succeed sometimes on focusing on several channels?
Well, first of all, there's no one right way to do it. Mm-hmm. I'm only talking about where I've seen it most successful, and you can increase your odds and lower your risk. I have not seen, maybe you've seen more than I have. I can't even think of a company in the United States that has launched everything. And I'm not talking about leveraging every channel, because you can do all kinds of marketing activities in different channels. You can do social media, you could do some audio stuff. I'm talking about real content marketing approaches where you're building a content brand. You're trying to do something consistent in a channel. Audio, let's say you're trying to do a podcast, a video series, a mini magazine, a blog. I've never seen it launch successfully at the same time. I've never seen it launch successfully on the media standpoint. If you look at any really good media company that's been around, BuzzFeed or Huffington Post or New York Times or anything over here in the United States, they've started by launching one thing in one channel. Even the new media companies do that. Even the newer ones coming out, they launch a YouTube series. YouTubers are, very popular, or they'll launch a really good podcast. They don't You don't do it all at once. You don't launch an integrated content campaign for a content brand. I just haven't seen it work, because what happens is a marketing group only has so much energy. Even if they have a ton of budget, they only have so much energy. And if you spread that on under, let's say, 4 different channels, you have to take that energy in a marketing department. I don't care how much money you have, you only have so much. So you're like, it's almost like you're creating plan Bs, which never work. Oh, it's like, oh, well, let's do this content brand, but we're going to put it in 4 different channels at the same time. And we're going to have 5 different shows or 6 different shows. We'll see what sticks. And then whatever works, then we'll go with that. You know what? That's the worst strategy possible. It never, ever works. You want to go all in with one that you think is going to work and put 100% energy behind it and put some advertising behind it, really put some marketing behind it and see if it works. I got a really good example for you and I'm a customer of theirs, is Mailchimp. Mailchimp just came out with Mailchimp Presents, and they launched documentaries and they launched mini podcasts and mini video series, all to entrepreneurs, and they did it all at the same time. Now, I like their brazen approach to it. I like that they're trying this, but I think it's going to massively fail because of the same reason. That it just doesn't happen that way. And if you love television, you say, I love Seinfeld. You love that television show. If you love a podcast, you're like, I love the James Altucher podcast, or whatever it is. I love the This Old Marketing podcast. They don't launch multiple things at the same time. It just doesn't happen. Now, maybe that'll change in the future, but I just don't. That's not how most audiences are built. The way that it works, that has worked for hundreds of years, is you build one first with your content brand, one leg of the stool. It's an event. It's a podcast, and put all your energy behind that. And then once that's successful, then you can peel off and say, okay, now we're going to create this. We've listened to our audience. We think there's an opportunity here in audio. Now we're going to launch a podcast. And then you say, oh, no, we're missing something with that audience and the content brand. Now we're going to launch a print magazine, whatever you're going to do. That's how it's been done for a long, long time, no matter what the channels are, no matter social media. And until I really see a lot of case studies where it's starting to work the other way, I just can't promote it. I just haven't seen it.
You know, Joe, I usually try to convince my companies, my clients, trying to compare them to the duck. You know, I don't know if you have the same thing in English, but the duck flies and tries to fly, tries to run, tries to dive, and tries to swim, but they never do anything right, you know. So that's the duck. You know, don't be the duck. Don't be the duck. Just go crazy. Yeah.
And I get it. It's very hard if you are a marketing person today and you go in and you say, oh, we're going to put these other channels aside because we think we have an opportunity to build an audience in this channel. We're going to forego these other channels. It is very difficult. You are going against the flow, because most marketers are going in and saying, we're going to do this in video. We're going to do this in audio. We're going to do this in Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and TikTok and everything. You're going to do everything at the same time. It's going to be great. And you know what happens about 12 months later? They get fired because nothing works. Yeah. It just doesn't happen. Nobody has that kind of energy and focus. I'd rather you take, instead of you got the 4 channels, take all that energy you're putting into the other 3 and put it into marketing. Market that, advertise that channel, build up your audience. What we call get a minimum viable audience, what we talk about in Epic Content Marketing. Same thing. Go in that direction. Build that up. Be the greatest thing to that audience that you can possibly be. And then you'll actually start to build that content brand. And then you've got all kinds of possibilities to do other things.
Joe, you created Content Marketing Institute and then Content Marketing World. It was your creation before you sold it. And I many times thought to myself and tried to figure out the challenges you faced in the previous year. And I think one of your great achievements was to put together great minds, great people of content marketing. I think it was your role to find those people, and by maybe reading their blogs and maybe reading their books, and okay, this guy is great, this girl is amazing. And my question is their books a great signal that of authority? I mean, if someone writes a book, do you think they're probably becoming an authority just because they wrote a book, a great book? I'm asking you that because in Brazil, differently from the US, nobody is writing books. We have just a few books. Just to give you an idea, I'm about to launch my new book, but there are just 3 books in Brazil about content marketing. One I launched 5 years ago, and there are 2 others in 5 years. And in the US, there are probably 5 new books this month.
Yeah.
So we have to read the books from the American people and from European people. So back to my question: is the book something that gives the author authority in that area?
Well, it doesn't hurt. That's for sure. Do I recommend that everyone go out who wants to be a thought leader that should go out and write a book? It's not for everyone, but if you want to be seen as the leading expert, that's why I think that brands should have a book too. If you have a point of view and you want to create a body of work that positions you or your company as the leading expert, there's nothing better than to do a book. Now, today you have a different option. I mean, when first I wrote my first book, Get Content, Get Customers with Newt Barrett, that was in 2000. We started writing in 2007. I mean, podcasts were out there, but podcasts weren't really a thing. So you had a book. That was it. Then you could do a blog, but a blog could become a book. Now you have a podcast where you could start a podcast and create a body of work that gives yourself this point of view. And that's really important. You're not just creating content for content's sake. You actually should have a point of view. You should start to become an authority on that. A huge opportunity for anyone. I mean, that's why you've obviously written a couple books now to do the same thing. I mean, I'm on book number 6 now because it's that important. You have a lot of individuals that have understood that important, especially speakers. Speakers understand that that's important. In a lot of cases, you will not get a speaking gig at a large scale event unless you have a book. When I wrote, so Get Content, Get Customers comes out formally under McGraw-Hill in 2009. And as soon as that came out, Cassio, I started getting calls from all over the world to speak. I was not a speaker at the time. But they, got the book. Does he do a speak? We want something on content marketing. Can we get the guy to speak? So if you are a brand, small, medium-sized, large business, whatever, and you want to be known as the expert in something, having a critical body of work that's in one format, book or podcast or something like that, is I think is really, really important. And it all works together. And that was part of the strategy. So I first started a blog, and then part of that, so a lot of that blog content became the book, the one piece, because a lot of people want that one thing to hold in their hand or listen or whatever. And then down the road, of course, it became a podcast, and then became magazine, the diversification once you build that audience. I don't know why in your country you don't have more things happening, but I think it's a huge opportunity then for those people, especially those businesses that actually want to say, we want to be the experts in this. I would have on your roadmap at some point a book that probably can take from whatever you're currently doing. You're doing mini magazine, real magazine, you're doing e-newsletter, you're doing a podcast, you're doing a blog, you're creating content. And you could create the podcast to book strategy or blog to book strategy where you're basically repurposing a lot of that content into one format.
I won't try to tell you why people don't read and don't write books here, because I have to discuss the history of Brazil.
Yeah, I won't. That's yeah. We don't even need to go there. But anyways, but there's an opportunity. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, let's have a beer sometime.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that.
Let's have this conversation in Cleveland or in Brazil sometime, and let's get to this point. So, a final question, Joe. People ask me many times, people that work with me and sometimes the students. I love to teach classes in MBAs and free courses. I don't like very much to speak. It's crazy, I do speak in events sometimes, but I really love to teach as a professor, but not really to speak. And whenever I teach in MBAs and universities, students in a certain point they start asking about, okay, what should I study next? Okay, now I learn about content marketing, sometimes about digital marketing, but what comes next? Is that artificial intelligence? Is that influencer marketing? And I can tell you that sometimes I don't know exactly what to answer,
Sure.
So, and I don't know if you have an answer for that. So that's why I'm asking you that.
Well, it's so I would say, first of all, that most people still don't know how to put together a really well-constructed, documented content marketing strategy. I rarely see that happen. It's most of the times they're quickly, somebody has an idea, let's do this, let's do a blog, let's do a podcast. They sort of pull some things together and off they go. And they don't really think about why, and they're not as thoughtful about setting up listening posts so they understand all that kind of stuff. So I would still say there's a ton of room there for education. Artificial intelligence, our mutual friend Paul Reitzer, who put a conference together recently on this. Down the road, this is going to, most of the things that, I won't say most, a lot of the things that we do as content creators are going to be automated. So that's why I would like marketers, be more on the strategic side. That stuff, the strategy is not going away. Strategy is not going to be built by a robot anytime soon, but a lot of the content construction might be, a lot of the editing might be, a lot of the production might be, and those things aren't that far away. So I would definitely start to pay attention to what's going on in AI. And the last thing that I don't know if it's a future thing, Cassio, or what's going to happen, but I'm really concerned about what's going on in social media right now. I think that the privacy issue and the way that, so privacy issue is one thing. Something's going to come to a head there. People have been giving up their rights on their data for so long now, and our data is just out there. And I think you're seeing this movement back where data is property. Is data my property? Do I get a right to know how these companies are using my property? I don't know what's going to come of that. I think that's going to be a real issue. So that's the one thing. The second thing is, right now, social media companies like Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, they need our content. Or at least they say they need our content, because they use our content, they get engagement, they get users to pay attention to that, they wrap ads around that, that's their business model. But you see, for example, Facebook spending billions of dollars on their own content now. At some point, the liability of other people's content, they're going to start pushing that more and more away, where most of the content you're going to see is going to be Facebook content. I believe this. It's going to be Facebook content. And of course, it'll be dabbled in with our own friends' content and things like that. I think that, and then from a brand's perspective, we really not have to think about that. I think our access to those connections on Facebook groups, things, I think that's all going to drastically change. So the only thing I would say about social media is, if you're active on social as an individual or as a company, is just be careful, because the rules are going to change quickly inside the next 3-5 years. I don't know when. We're going to lose access. The rules are going to change. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's not going to be good for businesses, I think. So I think that's my take on it. I really see doomsday ahead on the social media stuff. So that compels me to get direct connections with my audience whenever I can. Email newsletter subscriptions, print subscriptions, even to maybe to an extent podcast subscriptions. We have a little more control over some of those things. That's where I would be focusing my time and not as worried about Twitter followers and Facebook friends and those types of things.
I will be more than happy to find in my files within 3 or 5 years when this thing about social media really happens, that you told me that maybe 5 years ago, Joe, and I have that recorded when you told me, okay, never build your house in someone else's land,
rented land.
Because it could happen. So now it's no longer it could happen. It's about to happen.
Well, we've already, and brands have already lost their organic reach. And we've seen that going. I mean, I don't know when we talked about that, but in 2013, I think the average was 12-15% organic reach in a year that went down 10% and went to like 4%. And right now, if you have I believe more than 50,000 connections or friends on Facebook, you get less than 1% organic reach. It's way less than 1% actually. So we've already lost that. Yeah. What's next to go? There's going to be something else that's next to go. And we just spend so much time on social media channels, and I get concerned that we're spending time in the wrong areas.
So you were right when you said that when social media was rocking, and that was really surprising to have someone in the marketplace saying, okay, that's dangerous. Okay, are you crazy, Joe, to say that? And and so I'll be more than happy to bring that to life and say, okay, let me show you what Joe told me a few years ago. Joe, it's always nice to have that, to have you with me with those orange things around you.
Of course. Absolutely. It's great chatting with you, my friend. Anytime. It's been fun.
Yeah, thank you for that. And that's not the first time, and I hope it will never be the last time. And it's always good, and you have a very positive energy, and that's why it's always good to talk to you and to learn from you those great stuff.
Well, thank you, my friend, and I'm looking forward to seeing your new book come out.
Okay, thank you. You're gonna be there. The preface is yours. So thank you for that.
There you go. You got it. Absolutely.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.